Hello, hello. Check one, two, three. Check one, two, three.
should we use these? Oh, I see the thing. So. Yeah, we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 5:30 with Monroe County Women's Commission. I'd like to take roll call if we can. I'm Susan Hingle.
Tiana Roger.
Jennifer Crossley.
Molly Otto.
Juliet Hardesty.
Nikki Williamson.
Unmute. So the first, well, that was our introductions. We will do an approval of the agenda. If anybody likes to has any amendments they would like to make. Or next, I would had it next. Do we do it the other way? Doesn't. Okay. The minutes, okay. So anybody like to make a motion?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, everybody. The agenda is approved. Now I would like to approve the minutes from last week or last couple weeks ago. I know Nikki sent them out to everybody and has brought copies if anybody would like to see them. If anybody has any comments they'd like to make or changes, yes.
The only thing I was wondering about is the term dates. I don't think there was a term date listed next to my name, but I think it's supposed to be January 1st, 2024.
Let's take a look.
Like everybody else that's years. That was newly appointed is through 2024. So I think that's supposed to be the same thing for me. Wow.
Let me see if I can get in and see. I think you're correct, but let me just double check just to make sure. And we can also approve the minutes. But like in the motion, we can also say, we can approve it pending it gets put in your appointment too.
Right.
So we can, just to move on, like we can do that too.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes with that change?
I can motion to approve that with the change with that, my term date added in.
I'll second.
And there we have an approval of the minutes from December 22nd, correct? Yes, 50. Okay, the next line of business is commissioner updates. I'm going to start with obviously myself. Actually, I have a lot of things to talk about real quick. Well, one is I did print off the email that was sent out by Dina about everybody updating their names and their contact information. So I'll pass that around eventually or now or whenever. And then I did want, and then my big really item that we want are two items for me that I want to talk about is the changes that were mentioned last time at the meeting about that the ordinance was changed to reduce us to 7 members. It changed a lot of the residence requirements. It got rid of the city person, the city representative from the status on the Bloomington Commission on the status of women. And that's that. So, so that makes our quorum 4, which was really part of the plan. We will talk about more of this in a minute when after I'm done, but we had a meeting. These will be changed back to 11. So we are getting changed back to 11 because we requested that. I think the I'm 100% I'm pretty certain that the resident requirements and stuff will stay the same, that they're getting rid of those for us to make it a little bit easier for us to get people on the board, but I just want that to be known. I did print those out if anybody hasn't seen it or wants to see it in writing.
So who is they? And,
Okay, so the county commissioners, oh yeah, because you weren't here, I'm sorry.
right,
So the county commissioners on 2 days before we had our meeting, or I think it was 2, the one meeting that I didn't watch them. They amended our ordinance and reduced it because they thought we were having troubles getting people on the commission. So they reduced it without conferring with us about those changes, which they certainly can. And that they let us know. Molly Turner King showed up to our meeting to inform us, because it was the day before. So she came to let us know that we actually had quorum and, those kind of things, and that Maria was actually, because when her term was up, because of the reduction in the committee and the board, she was going to lose her seat. So, and we don't want that to happen. So we're working to make that not happen. So,
okay. Thanks.
yeah. And this is it, you're right, and if you want to see it.
Is that the edited version? So
This
it's
is-
back up to
This is the
11?
edited. This is the
The-
changes they made in December.
Okay, all right. So there's another edit that's taking it back up to 11.
So, oh, yeah.
I thought that had been resolved. And she was still being able to continue with that being taken care of.
So as of 4:30 today, I was unaware of that change. I got an email today from Commissioner Thomas telling me they were working on some changes and that she should still come. I texted Maria to let her know she could come, and she was not able to pivot that fast. She is supposed to be joining us by Zoom. I don't know if she's here or not.
I'm on Zoom right now and I don't
See
see
her.
Maria on the Zoom right now.
Is there a way for us to see the Zoom on one of these screens? To share screen or something so
Oh,
that we
he's
can
doing
see? Thanks. Yep, great.
So
Okay, I'm trying to formulate some thoughts. So I'm sorry. You said that this is something that we are going to discuss next in the agenda.
yes.
Okay. Okay, I will wait until we get to that point.
So just a reminder there, and then I also want to discuss, I think I mentioned it at our last meeting about the Indiana Commission for Women has approached me. I didn't know that existed. I'm guessing Nichelle told them who I was and she contacted me. I actually took notes. That is a stretch for me. I have no idea. Her name is Jordan Teskey Harrison. She is the administrative staff on the commission. She's the only paid staff member for the Women's Commission. She has held monthly meetings, I guess, with Nichelle, and her name is Christina Isabel. She's the chair from the Michigan City Women's Commission, which I believe might be the only active women's commission outside of this one in the state of Indiana. I think she said that the Gary Commission, she's never heard from, so she wasn't sure. So that's good, but we are having monthly meetings, myself, Jordan, Christina. Actually, Nichelle, I think, came to the yesterday meeting. I actually didn't get to make the meeting because it's during my work hour and it's not a big deal for me to come, but I just got taken away at the time. Anyway, the meeting for me, she's also introduced me to the ACL representatives because they've never had really a working relationship with the ACLU, with Katie Blair and Caitlin Teague. and just to connect us to see more things. Jordan seemed very interested, obviously, in keeping our relationship. She told me all the ways that she could help us, all the information. Honestly, it was a little overwhelming because it was just, I mean, it's a lot to learn from her. But I think one of her things that she offered, which was so exciting for me and so silly at the same time, is I was talking about money. So they have money that we could possibly get for us. Whether she was like, I was like, hey, could you buy us name tags? We really want, and so they could buy us name tags. They could help us. We talked about funding like a retreat last time. They could possibly potentially help us with a retreat costs. They could, all this kind of thing. So that's a really nice thing. She just essentially told me to make sure, to let her know what we needed and that she would try to make it happen. So, that's a really great thing to have that connection. She seemed very great to work in. They're housed, is really interesting because they are housed with status, I think Black males and the Indigenous people, and they're under the Civil Rights Commission or something. It's a really interesting housing of the way they are, but just so you know, they are, I will update you guys. I mean, I've told you guys from the beginning, I'm not interested in gatekeeping information. I will definitely send you guys all the link or put it in the minutes for the next time. So we can, if you guys are interested in coming to our meeting, you're certainly more than welcome to come to even, especially because it's, on Zoom or whatever, it's easier to eavesdrop in the daytime or whatever. So, I think it's really it, because we all are going to have different ideas.
Can you clarify for me the names of the people again?
So
And yeah,
Jordan Teskey.
right, I have Jordan.
Harrison
Mhm.
and Christina, Kristina, Isabel. She's the chair from the Michigan City Women's Commission.
Okay. And then there was a Katie.
And then there's Katie Blair and Caitlin Teague from the ACLU.
They're both from the ACLU.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I was gonna say, just for the record, Maria Douglas is on.
As Rachel.
Yes, she is Rachel. So I just asked TSD to promote her, just so she can participate as well.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about that at all? I was really excited by it.
Mhm.
She seems really excited. Yeah.
Sounds really promising.
So
That was good. They're just glad to have that connection.
yeah, she was talking about today, or she sent me after, I apologize for, of course, missing the meeting. She sent me an email saying, telling me what they talked about. So, I mean, they focused on, how we can collaborate, bring awareness to the Women's Commission, how to serve, how to advocate, how to organize, spring up all, work on getting more women's commissions involved, or like established, or coming up with the idea to contact the Indiana Conference for Women to see if Women's Commission can lead a breakout session in their 2023 conference about having an all women's commission retreat together. Those kind of things. So. Hi, Maria. Okay. Any other questions? I definitely will keep you guys informed. And as I said, I will put her contact information in the web link for the meeting in our minutes as well.
So we're planning a retreat?
They said that it's just something they're talking about, because it was just something too that when she and I were talking, that, we were just talking about, I was talking to her about our retreat that we had discussed, and she was like, that's I would love to have a statewide, like,
Mhm.
because you're talking like
Yeah.
20 people probably,
Mhm.
but a statewide retreat on, getting people together and, whatever. So,
That'd be cool.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I love the idea of helping broaden women's commissions to other counties as well.
Mhm.
It's a little shocking to me to hear that there's only
3.
two, maybe three.
Yeah.
And out of 92, like, oh, that immediately makes me think of our discussion last time about roles and legacy. That, yeah, I think that's interesting to me.
Well, and it's interesting because we're all volunteers. So how coming up with the time and the energy, but I think that's one of the things with someone like Jordan, who's a paid staff person, can help keep us on task and figure out how to, and then, she has all the connection to the people. I mean, if you look at who's on her board, it's all the state senators and house, the representatives and things. So she's Shelley Yoder's on the board. So that's good. But so I hope that happens. That would be great. Anything? Great. Okay, so the next I have Maria and Nikki. So we had met, I think Maria had sent out, I'd sent out a text last week. We were had been talking about going to office hours because we were a little confused and about why the ordinance got changed, especially without our knowledge. So we figured going to office hours was a good way to handle that.
And before you go forward, I just want to say for the record, I was under the impression as the liaison from the county council, I was under the impression that you all were told that this happened, considering that the commissioners had their meeting Wednesday and this meeting happened the very next day. Of course, with Thursdays, I wasn't able to attend. So I was under the impression that this is something that was discussed. So my apologies for my end, because I figured staff that attended the meeting, the previous Women's Commission meeting had discussed this with everybody. So I apologize if that was my error. I did not think that. Yes, so I will say I'm disappointed in that aspect. And I was also disappointed in the fact that Commissioner Douglas did not know what was going on until we had the conversation. So my intentions for the new year, and I think it's the sentiment for the rest of our commission here, is to make sure that we are having full transparency with this commission, which involves open communication, dialogue, things of that sort that will continue to happen. I also hope that, because I know you had mentioned that we were going to discuss it here in this point. I am surprised to hear that you got an email from Commissioner Thomas. I have not received any of this. So today is the first time that I'm hearing that it's now going back to 11. So the moral of the story is there's communication breakdown that is happening. And I really hope for this commission, because we are some very powerful women on this commission, and our missions and goals and objectives is to do some really great work. But it seems to be that it is very hindered through communication. Maybe I am also a part of that. I will own up to that as well. But moving forward, my intention for 23 as the liaison, if I continue to be on, because we all will get new appointments here very shortly, is that it will be better for the new year. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the office hours meet. And then I also would like to hear a little bit more in detail of how this ordinance is supposed to happen, or the amendment to the ordinance is supposed to happen, because yeah, as it stands, technically, because they amended it back in December, we're still operating on 7. So there's questions that I have. So I just wanted to go on record to say that.
Thank you.
Would this, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Would this be, would you like me to start with the email that I got from Commissioner Thomas, or should we wait till we have a
Yeah,
discussion?
why don't we have the discussion of
How this happened?
exactly. Mhm.
So I'm glad Maria is here via Zoom and that, so Maria, Nikki and I hopped on to office hours. We had no idea. I didn't know. I don't think we knew who we were gonna get. And we happened to get Julie Thomas, which Commissioner Thomas, so I was really excited because I know she has been involved with the commission in the beginning or pretty close to the beginning. And we went to talk to her pretty much about just a lot of things, but certainly about being frustrated that this happened without our knowledge. So I'm gonna let Maria and Nikki talk about it, give a synopsis, I think, of what happened, so I don't have to talk the whole time.
Maria, do you want to go or would you like me to? Oh, I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, but you're unmuted.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much for your patience. So it came to my attention that with the reduction of the commission, which again, as Susan said, was just, in our opinion, sprung on us in the meeting in December, that my seat was going to roll off. And please know, this is not about Maria having a seat. It's about this commission having enough members to do the work that they need to do, having the diversity that they need to be inclusive. Also, to the point of what Jennifer was saying, to encourage, communication and transparency. So we felt this needed to be addressed, and we hopped on, the office hours, thank God, that same day, that same evening. And Julie was under the impression that this is something that we wanted. And so we made, whereas at one point in time, probably in the summer, we were having issues getting quorum, but we have been, as clearly, Tiana sent her husband, we've been working very hard, to recruit and to get quorum. So we weren't making any more noise, if you will, about quorum because we had felt like we had it under control. And with so much interest from other people wanting to get involved with the commission, we were like, oh, we're good. We just have to get these applications in and get it pushed through the system, and we will not have trouble because we have handful at least females are interested in joining. So Julie, again, to Jennifer's point, Julie said that she was unaware, that we were able to make quorum with 11. She understood our confusion and frustration over not being told or having the opportunity to discuss it, and she was extremely apologetic and owned that that was a unfortunate lack of communication between the commissioners and the Women's Commission. She is in support of us going back to 11. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. Unless I forgot something.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'll add a couple things. So that was the basic purpose of our attending. And I think I can speak for us that we were pleased with Commissioner Thomas's communication and ability to hear our concerns and validate them and offer apology as well, which I think was important because we felt pretty stepped on. In addition, we talked a lot about the work that we are trying to do and have been working really hard at getting us together and get on the same page and understand the ordinances and the various expectations of this commission during a transition as well in terms of leadership. And she was supportive of that, and I think heard our intention that we would be very communicative with them and expected the same in return. We shared that we planned on having a representative from our commission at their commission meetings weekly, as much as we are able to, just to keep up in the know, answer questions, and then be able to report out to ourselves. And then finally, I would say that she also offered support in terms of helping us understand the various aspects to being on a commission like this, as well as offering support in terms of helping us with a retreat and connections in the community. Yeah, and I think the plan at the end was that she was going to check in with the rest of kind of the commissioners, ask for an amendment, and then talked about the ability to reinstate Maria as a commissioner in January, if Commissioner Douglas was interested in that.
And Molly, because her term was up as well.
Right, and
Commissioner
yes.
Otto. Yeah.
We included that as well. That's why I was confused when I heard from you, because it's a little different.
And I honestly, I don't know who I received a phone call from because I was in the middle of my workday, but I was like, yeah, of course I do. And they said, okay, great. And then I've been on the emails, so.
I guess for clarification, if this gets amended back to going back to 11, technically Maria is a council appointment. And so because technically it did end, like council would need to reappoint her. So okay, so yeah, and of course, I don't think that we would have an issue with doing that. Of course, I can't speak for all the rest of us. But I mean, she did get approved like unanimously. So I don't see that we would have a problem with that. I guess my question, since this is something that I'm learning this evening, is do we know when the timeline is for this ordinance to go?
That's why I was getting ready to say I was disappointed that the commissioners meeting was canceled yesterday, because I was under the assumption that it was going to be discussed and then voted on. No,
I mean, after we were scrambling yesterday to try to get onto the meeting, I remembered her saying they were not meeting again until the 11th.
Oh, okay.
So I think
I have that in my notes too, now that you say that, yeah.
I
they're
just seen
meeting
it
on the
afterwards.
11th.
I was like, oh yeah, they weren't going to be here. So
Okay, good. I just disappointed myself. It's fine.
So if we move to 11, how many people need to be present for quorum?
6.
6. Okay, good. Just making sure.
So
Just to clarify, so tonight, we're working under the auspice of 6 or 7.
4.
Right, 4 for quorum, but
Yeah,
the reduced number, right? And then in January, well, it is January now, thank you. They'll be amending it back, and then it'll shift again, presumably by next month's meeting. Does that make sense?
And I will hold myself to, and I'll put a note in, and I will get with Miss Molly Turner King, to figure out when we will be doing this so that we can get ourselves prepped and ready for next month's meeting. And of course, I think the issue with quorum that we were having is because we were trying to get people to be here, like we got Julie and, and Molly, and of course Maria. So I think that was the issue with quorum, is like we could never do it because we didn't have people. And I also think that the commissioners also have an appointment that they need to make as well that has been outstanding for a while. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the more the merrier. If we have people that really want to be here and are dedicated, and it seems like this is a group of women that are wanting to do this work, then I'm in support of it going back to 11, but I also want to know when these things will be happening so we can just get ourselves as prepped as much as possible.
So I do have a couple comments to add on to what we talked about with Commissioner Thomas, was that so basic housekeeping things, because a lot of my concerns as the new chair of this commission too, and that everybody on here is new. And, with Michelle leaving, that everybody joined essentially last year. No one knows a whole lot of what's going on. So just trying to get, our feet under us. And so she just gave us a whole bunch of tidbits, like we were talking about the retreat. And she said, well, you can have a working session and you can do that anywhere. And I would love to be there and make sure that, because I said, we really want to figure out how, we meet 12 times, in a year. That's not a lot of time to get work done. So trying to figure out, how we can make the most of our commission, and how, coming up with realistic goals we can't really do here. It's not, it's not enough time. It's not enough people. It's not a lot of things. And so she, just helped us define what that meant, how we could do that, making sure, letting her know. So she, coming here, we had also discussed about having this meeting on the first Thursday of the month, which she gave us information that is not the information that I had, which was, she said we could have this meeting whenever we want. And I was like, well, that's not the options that we were given. We were given only certain options. That's what we were told. So there was some very conflicting information there as well. So I don't know. And the reason why and I said it originally in the email, was that I don't like having this meeting on the first Thursday because it's the same time as the status of women meet for the city. And so it makes it very hard for two parties, hopefully working towards the same goal, to ever collaborate when you're meeting at the same time. So, and we discussed changing that. And so she was letting us know that we could do whatever we wanted to do. And, as long as we gave enough notice that we are changing and publish the dates or whatever those things are. So I don't know. Is there any other little housekeeping thing that you remember that she talked about? But things like that, those things. So it was really interesting.
Do we have details like how much notice we have to give if we're going to be changing meeting times or anything?
I think it's 72 hours.
Oh, it's okay.
I have a
think you-
question.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So Jennifer, how are things communicated to council? Like, was that on us that we should have communicated to you that what was going on? Or is it between the commissioners and the, and the council?
I think it's all of the above. So it's a lot. So a representative from the county, whoever is at these meetings, whether it's myself or Molly, or even a commissioner for that matter, because I believe they too are also somebody that should be here in these meetings.
Yes.
Somebody from the county should be in the communication factor of getting information like and then basically getting it out to you all, and then vice versa. So both county and commissioners, Women's Commission, should be communicative back and forth. So that's where I think it is being broken down, is because it seems to be there's a lot of, if there's not a representative that's here, or if there is a representative that is here, that person should be communicating with people that are not here to go forward. And so I think, again, if I continue to stay on, the goal that I would like to do is communication is the key to my heart. And I say that in my public and private life and professional life. But I also use that in my, my here as well, is that I feel like even when we have our meetings here today, whatever is discussed and whoever is not here, I think it should be in a good practice for us to follow up with emails. So even if those that are here, we missed something because of, us having a different attention to whatever the case is, I think that is the principle that we should be going with for and moving forward, is making sure that we are all on the same page, which is why the meeting notes also help as well too. But again, making sure that those are going out to people and people are paying attention to those. And they're also going out in a timely fashion too. So I, again, to answer the question, I think it's all of the above. But, and again, I'll own up to it. I know that I haven't been able to meet on third Thursdays because I've just had conflicts from the very beginning. So it was never really a good thing for me. But moving forward, and to kind of go back to that, I think the reason why Thursdays were brought back up is because it seemed like, in reading from some of the email exchanges, that maybe Thursday might have been the better day for people, maybe, I don't know. And I think that's where that communication came in, is that, well, third Thursday just didn't work. So how about other Thursdays? So I think that's where that was.
No, she gave us other, there were other options.
When we did a doodle poll. didn't
Yeah.
we do
Yeah,
a
but it
poll?
wasn't like every day. It was like the
Yeah.
first Monday or the second Tuesday or the, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, it was,
Yeah.
you have these like 5 days to choose from.
So I think one of the things that we could do going forward is, once the ordinance has been amended back to 11, I think we should probably go ahead and revisit the doodle poll again to make sure, because if it does include now the original, which is the liaison from the city's commission, then obviously if they're meeting at the same time that we're meeting, then it's probably not a good idea for us to meet the same time that they're meeting, or else the change is kind of pointless.
Well, and when I mentioned that in the email, I was not given a very
Yeah.
nice reply.
So I think so again, I think that what we should do is, my recommendation would be that we just wait and see. We'll follow up, figure out when, because technically commissioners have to have so many hours of an agenda, like items to be put on the agenda as a notice. Because you have to notice like what's going to be discussed. And so we can see if that's a topic that will be on the agenda for them for next week. And if it's not, then unfortunately we have to wait for another week to figure out. But obviously, once they do make the appointment or make the change, it should be immediate, and then we can go back and then we can start over again and have like a poll for us to figure out how we can meet all over again.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It was a little bit of everything. And I think it'll be better, way better when the commissioners have their liaison at the meeting. And because this whole thing happened without anyone's knowledge except for the commissioner's knowledge, and so it wasn't even discussed in the meeting, right, in the Women's Commission meeting. So once we have, hopefully it'll stay you if you want it to be, and then the commissioners will send their liaison, and hopefully that would go a long way for everyone to being on the same page. But just so we're all clear, it sounds to me like it's almost a 3-step process. 1, they have to change, the commissioners has to change the ordinance. 2, I kind of have to reapply with the council, and then the council will have to appoint me again. So it may be a minute before I can vote, but I'll still come to the meetings, right?
So this is my time to read you. Is that okay? Can I read this even? Greg Bewley?
I would give a synopsis of it.
Okay, so it just says that so this is after our meeting with Commissioner Thomas, she asked us to email her, right? Her addresses. So I emailed her address. I just got this message at 1 o'clock today saying, I'm glad you reached out. They are working through a revision of the ordinance as they discussed. But she just learned that we were meeting tonight. So if Maria can attend, she should. We will get this straightened out. As of this moment, I believe we have 4 commissioners appointments, 3 council, and we'll make the counselor and commissioner ex officio. So the quorum will still be 4. Wait, that's not right. I don't know. But
Well,
Yes,
that's the problem that we're having. I'm just gonna front it out. I feel like that's the problem that we're having. Commissioners and council, county or city, are supposed to work together, right? But if they're doing this ordinance, changing this ordinance behind the scenes outside of a session, and city council doesn't know about it, and I'm city council's appointee,
not city council, county council.
or I mean, county council, county council's appointee, that's a problem. The county council doesn't know what's happening with their appointee.
That is correct.
That's the
'cause-
point. Yes,
That's correct, because as of this moment is when I'm finding out all of this.
yes, that's a problem. So whereas, I mean, I'm just gonna say, whereas we appreciate the commissioners' support and whatnot, I feel like as a women's commission can't condone, participate in things that are done off record or done out of what's the word I'm looking for, out of the steps, the process, out of process. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And with the open door policy, we really shouldn't be doing that either. It's your violation.
I just wanted to make sure that we were all, because I think we all are very different individuals, but I think we all are wanting to do the right thing. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, because it is a whole situation. It's a whole process.
So, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, no. Something else outside of this? Well,
Sorry, so there was, if the county commissioners are taking this up at their January 11th meeting, that means there is yet another amendment to our ordinance that is going to be changing things. Is the county council going to know anything about this before that meeting or no?
They will now.
Okay.
I'll make sure.
well, and so we also had a discussion, I think, was it with Commissioner Thomas? I can't remember, about that if we were going back up to 11, because we were still short seats. So that was one of the things, is making sure we had lots of people apply. Allegedly, I have 2 people that are applying. And not that we would still have quorum, but still to fill up the seats, because we need, this is we are all very ambitious people. I know it. And we want things to get done. And although we are small and mighty, it would still be nice to have more people at the table. So, and we had talked about in the meeting too, I think with Commissioner Thomas, that, you know, that was our agenda, was to make sure that we were as inclusive as possible, or maybe we talked about that as our last meeting, but we were gonna do our best to get our board full first. And then, you know, as people came on and off, to even, not that we weren't thinking about diversity when we're recruiting, but we'll see what happens. So just to put that out there. Because that's, I know that's all very important to us too, so.
We're gonna get it right. We're gonna get it right. This is a bump, there's a hiccup, this, lack of better word, it sucks, but we will, it's the first of the year. We got 11 more months left.
Mhm.
Sounds very weird. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work. We'll get it right. Positive vibes.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we're all on the same page in terms of the importance of that crystal clear communication. Yeah, I really appreciated you pointing that out, because that is the discussion that we had as well. Just for clarification on communication, regarding the commission's minutes, as the secretary, I'm under the understanding that I am to disseminate the minutes, like from tonight's meeting, I'll disseminate them to our commission, but until we approve them at the next meeting, that is when I actually send them out. So for me, I'm like, then everybody's always getting those a month behind. So that seems problematic to me. I don't know if there's a workaround, or if maybe I misunderstood that.
I will put that on my list to follow up.
So the next line of business was, I put it on here for the Bloomington Commission for the status on women as updates. I don't believe we really have any, but I just wanted to make sure that was constantly on our minds, as well as vacancies for our chairs, making sure we're still recruiting. I'd rather them be turning people away than, you know, doing whatever. Yeah, I just had no thought, but it went out my head. Okay, so let's go on to new business. And actually, let me ask before I do that. So I really, and I forgot afterwards, we need to put on here as standard is girls coding camp. To be working on that every month. I forgot to put it on here. It came to me too late. So I would like to keep us with that. Okay, new business. We had talked about doing a retreat. There's no money for a retreat that we know of, unless I get money. However, I mean, one of our issues with this is here we've spent, you know, our first meeting of 2023 talking about housekeeping, which I feel like we shouldn't have had to talk about, but it's fine. I would like to talk about, so Commissioner Thomas suggested, since a retreat would be hard to do because there's no money, would be a working session. I do think something that we can do quickly and efficiently to get us all on the same page as quick as possible, since I do have this pressure all the time of, you know, there were constraints that we have, you know, as a government body, you know, to adhering to certain rules. Really, you know, it ties our hands, I feel like, in a lot of ways, which is fine. That's the way it should be that way. But I want to know how we feel about a working session. And to me, I'm going to define it first. And that is 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours on a whenever we can figure it out, the best day. Commissioner Thomas said it, we can have it wherever we want, as long as it's publicly, as long as we let people know where it is, and then they could attend if they wanted to. It doesn't have to be broadcast, so, just so you know, right? I think that was what she said, right? So, how do we feel about that? I mean, I would really like, I think, to come to the table about, I mean, and I'm talking within the next month, right? I mean, 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks tops. And I'm having shoulder replacement in there, so I'm out for a couple weeks altogether. So if it's, and yes, I am too young to have a shoulder replacement, just so you know. So I mean, do we feel, I mean, we need that, right? I mean, I know we all have these ambitions about the things we want to accomplish. And we have Girls Coding Camp, which is a great place, but I know we have other things to do. I mean, I'm really interested. I mean, I think we all have pet projects we probably would like to see us do, and just figuring out how, you know, how we all feel and voting on, you know, choosing 1 or 2 or whatever, and being realistic about our goals.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have to broadcast this, that gives us a lot more flexibility to meet up where and when we can. So for a 2-3 hour time block.
Yeah.
Which I think is helpful. Yeah.
I know Commissioner Thomas goes, you guys can meet in the back room of Uptown, as far as you know. And she was saying she'd like to be there and to make sure, you
Mhm.
know, the commissioners are invited. So,
Mhm.
you know, we would invite the whole council, you know, like,
Well,
Just-
I mean, it would be something the public would be invited as well, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be an open meeting, just like this one, except we don't have the broadcasting that we have to.
well,
manage.
it might, you know, it might be something would be nice. Yeah, because you don't, the thing with a working session is you don't vote on anything, you just get
Mhm.
ideas, and then we'd have to bring the ideas to here to vote. So I mean, it, you know, I don't know, I mean, it might be an opportunity to invite people that we know, or, you know, that might help, because that's what we talked about. Oh, no, we talked about this too. We totally forgot about this. Because we talked about in with Commissioner Thomas, we talked about this idea and really making sure that, you know, we wanted to make sure that we were really representative of the community we're serving, right? I mean, obviously, we think we all have ideas about what the community needs. And maybe, you know, because of our relationships with people in the community, we do know, you know, we have ideas, you know, if I had my friend here, she'd talk about, you know, I talked about period poverty last time, or what, you know, all the things that we know that could be done.
We also have the survey data that we were.
So
could
she had talked
potentially wanna
about,
look
I
at.
think Maria mentioned it,
Yeah,
right?
right.
About having surveys. She's like, we could send a survey tomorrow, you know, like, and so we were talking about 2 ways. I think she could said we could do a Survey Monkey and or something immediately to county employees. Right? And that we could eventually do one to the county residents. So that is something to do, maybe to come up with things this year. And then work to bigger goals like that and for next year, because I still think this year we have good ideas. And as we're all learning, we could be moving on to something, you know, that a bigger project, but I didn't want to forget that that was also a possibility too, is before we have our working session, or even we vote on what we, you know, decide we want to do, then we could get information from county employees. So.
Well, I can imagine that working session, rather than diving into where we all want to get to, I think, which is let's pick a project and do it, like backing that up a little bit, which we're all excited, to making it a work session of like, what kind of survey do we develop to ask people? What are the, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's actually what the work session needs to be. I mean, nobody likes that part of the work, but that is actually the intentional work.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Of putting that together in a really mindful, intentional way. And then that survey going out, and then sure, we could have another work session down the road to implement or, you know, receive the information and talk about what to do with it. But again, I think when we think about timing and the plates that are very full, I think, for all of us. I'm just gonna assume there, but yeah, I think it's really important that we take it step by step. And so thinking about like over the longer term, what can we be doing? But we can't quite jump in yet.
No, yeah.
We need to get the information first.
Right, I think that's a really good point because the survey does need to be very intentional. And Commissioner Thomas actually reminded us, I don't know why she had to, but anyway, we have the whole jail situation happening right now. That's a very relevant situation for, you know, the county, because the county decides where the building goes. And so that, and I've been doing a lot of research and reading more about, you know, restorative and transformative justice and things like that. And so it is very important where that physical building goes, as far as families are keeping families together, as far as females, you know, receiving services that they need. Because if it is, we just think about that, you know, wherever the physical building is now, that's something the county has control over. And that's something that we are learning what the county, or I'm sorry, what the commissioners and the county have, you know, the roles are in the government. County decides where is in charge of the physical building. And then the city, right, Jennifer, or the
Well,
that's what Julie was saying to us, something about.
should, you know, for opinions of that matter, yes, so yes, you are on track. The commissioners are responsible for like building, but of course, they can't do anything without county council because we are the fiscal body, we're the purse string. So
Yeah.
they might have, you know, this place that they want, but that might be a dream unless, you know, county council funds that dream.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that two bodies have to go into place. And of course, I think where you were going with the city, if it's in city limits and something has to be rezoned, such as which was the Fullerton Pike project that was denied back in December through city council. If it's in the city, like obviously we saw how that was into play. So we don't know what is going to happen next. You know, and so we'll just wait from that.
Yeah, thank you. And so my point is that something that already exists, right? That's a situation that we can already advise on, keep an eye on, making sure females and whatever we're concerned with, you know, is taken into account. And so that's not something we have to create, right? And then in the background, we could be creating the survey, this very intentional survey about what we're going to do next year or something like that. Is just all I wanted to get out there.
Yeah, I think there's also similarly something that we could be doing regarding reproductive health care, education, awareness, whatever it is that we can do under the laws as they are and the laws as they change, because it's who knows what's going to happen this next year, but things were already changing last year. So I think that's something else that we can be proactive about and do something with, regardless of a survey that we might put together and send out. So for the working session, is this something that we would have to wait? Because you're talking about trying to get it to happen in the next few weeks, but do we need to wait until we have the 11 versus 7 member thing figured out and people, or do we just want to go for it and just move forward?
Because sometimes I'm a bull in a china shop, which is what I like about myself, and sometimes not so much. But we can decide. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever everybody wants to do. I just get so anxious because we have 11 meetings left. You know, I mean, and when you think of it in that term, but that's not very much time. I mean, we could do things outside of our meetings, but it's like, or, you know, by having other special meetings or another working session or events or whatever. But it does make me Because I've never done this before. No one outside of Jennifer, none of us have ever done this before, so we don't know. We don't know really, is that a lot of time? Because to me, that doesn't seem like a lot of time.
Okay, so I think in the essence of time, because we're at 6:31 right now, and it's me that's rolling off, or that's not even on, but I'm gonna come as the public, right? And so you have a working session, I'm coming as the public, and I'm gonna be vocal as the public, right? So you go ahead and have the session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And I would also say too, that even though I know it's 11 months, but technically we still have time. And I just pulled out my calendar. I guess the thing that we need to narrow it down to is, when do we want to have it? Where can we have it? Those are the two, when and where, are some things. And I think if we're needing a location, one of the things that I think about is the public library. You can do it in one of the sessions in classrooms, or, things like that. And it would be open. It'd be plenty of seating for public to come and have input. I've had retreats that have been there as well. So if people want to come there, you can. Again, open doors says that we have to make sure we just give plenty of notice. So I think it's something that we have to do in terms of trying to figure out when. Obviously, when is the big thing? And then where is the other thing? And if commissioners want to come, I wouldn't technically base it off of their schedule. Because if we're basing it off of their schedule or a council schedule, you ain't gonna have that until December of next year.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, so it's more of making sure that this commission, we're basing it off of this commission, and trying to figure out who would be available and go that way.
Yeah,
And then once you have your when and where, you're good to go.
Yeah, because my immediately thought is 2 to 5 on a Sunday or 6 to 9 on a weekday. That's probably, something like, or a Saturday. I don't care about. Usually Sundays seem to be less,
Are there rules with working sessions about quorum still, or no?
nothing.
Okay.
No rules about that.
Cool.
Well, and I think, I think, again, I don't want to create more work, but pulling together just a doodle poll, I think that's helpful in terms of trying to organize this many people. And then, kind of majority rules, like what
Yeah.
works best for the most people. And, then we can move into the library as an option. Honestly, even a restaurant would be an option if they have a back room, because most restaurants are going to be open to that if we make the commitment that we're all going to buy a meal, so that it's a, they're making money from us being there. I think we live in a community that would be really open to that.
Yeah, and then
From all
promoting it,
the connections that we all have.
and then, promoting it on social media so we get and make sure as much public is aware and as quickly as possible.
Who wants to do that doodle poll is the question.
So, because this is one of those things that I'm uncertain of. Does that, because Dina sent out the doodle poll for the time of the meeting. Can we do our own doodle poll? Yes.
Yeah, as long as we are, again, letting including all the bodies that need to be included in that, and we are letting them know that this is what is happening and this is the notice that we're given, that should be fine.
Okay.
But we definitely want to make sure that we include her, and then of course, I would also copy Angie Purdy as
Right.
well.
Who's the doodle poll queen person?
I'll do it, because I'll do it. And I also want to make sure, as we are planning this, we want to be as open as possible, because I know we mentioned on, Sundays and Saturdays, some of those days could be observed for religious holidays, or religious holidays, Oh, maybe. But just, folks go to church on Sundays and some people go on Saturdays and things like that. So we just want to be mindful of not just focusing it on, those types of days and making sure that everybody, like we have a range of ideas or days and times where, majority of us can be able to participate.
Yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to an evening. I'm not opposed to anything,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
do ask that we're mindful of the typical workday. I think a lot of
Mhm.
us have kind of a typical, I mean, there can be some exceptions made, but if we're talking quick,
This would
Yeah.
be my goal,
maybe after 4 PM.
mine by the end of February. Is that realistic? Granted, I'm out for 2 weeks for surgery, but well, I could come in a sling, it's fine. Heavily medicated, but fine.
Why don't you tell us those dates, Susan, so we know?
The surgery's on Valentine's, easy to remember.
Oh, happy Valentine's.
Hey, I'm happy to get my shoulder back. Well, I'm gonna research how to have a working session.
I was gonna ask him, Maria, you might have a little bit more insight that I know that Chamber just put out that women's survey last fall. Do you, surveys like that, and I know, the city council, the commission, they used a, what is it, Seastone, or what's the can't see kids, capstone
Yeah,
project.
oh, yeah.
So I'm curious if we could get that information to utilize before we even attempt another survey. I think we could use a lot of that statistically before, and then go into what we really want to use for a survey. I'm not sure where we would get that information. I mean, I'm sure we could get it from the chamber.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Molly. And then I also want to know the demographics of, I hope they collected something. I want to know the demographics of who responded to that survey, because I really want to be, well, we're a county commission. We need to be very, mindful of reaching out to the females in the county, which, may not have even known about the survey. But that's a really good idea, and I'll look into that for sure.
Maria, since we're waiting on you to be reinstated as a commissioner, is that information you can get from the chamber and then present it to one of us, give it to one of us,
Yeah, absolutely.
not knowing when we're gonna actually be able to move?
The
all that?
caption project, or is this something else? Because
The chamber did a whole survey.
it's separate from the capstone project. that
Oh,
the-
no, the capstone project was, yes, it's the same.
Oh, okay. Trying to figure out who Zephyr is. Said Zephyr on the. Anyway,
But I would say too, for this commission, that's another really good idea, is to be in touch with those Kelly School kids. I mean, they have to do a capstone to graduate, right? I mean, I had staff that I'm like, oh, what was your project? And they're like, this nonprofit. I'm like, what did you do? Oh, we assessed it and then figured out how to help. I mean, that could be another avenue for us in years.
I know
coming.
I wrote Ashley Hazelrig like 2 months ago and never heard back from her. Because I was asking her about all sorts of stuff, but I'll have to reach out again.
And all of that. I mean, it could be getting the right.
It was great. I listened to the meeting that they presented. I thought it was really good.
We can't find a location. I would like to offer up my own home for the retreat, but in public could come too. They
Hey,
just have to have people outside, but as far as a retreat, my thing is.
I know it's a weird option, but I'm just gonna offer it too, because don't tell him, but he wouldn't care. I have the key to the Comedy Attic, so we could always have it there. I know it seems like a weird, but it's a huge open room and it was, so I'm just
And
saying.
you know, there'd be a female comic that would want to come and do 10 minutes just to support us. you know?
Yeah, started as a icebreaker.
Mhm.
So that's all in that big long spot. Now we didn't even take that long talking about the working session. That's all I had on there for new business. And I don't believe we have anything else. We're gonna send out a doodle poll about time, Jennifer is, and then hopefully get that done. Yeah,
Looks like we got public comment.
public
On the-
comment.
I don't know if we have public that wants to make comment. I don't, it looks like we only have 2 attendees, which is Kat, and one of them, yes, I don't see. I will ask us to back up for just a second, because I feel like our meetings have been looked at after the fact, and unfortunately, I think it was something that was done in the meetings that we went through, and it almost like certain things didn't count because we didn't do something. And 2 things that I realized that we didn't do. We didn't do voice consent for approval of agenda or approval of minutes.
I didn't, the way I did it last time.
You do a motion a second, and then you have to
I
all
didn't
in
do that,
favor.
Did I?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about that, and I'm like,
Yeah, 'cause-
before we get into, because I feel like this happened once before, somebody wasn't able to be seen in a
Yes.
meeting, and everybody was there, and
totally
unfortunately it
forgot about
didn't
that.
count. Just to make sure that, we are starting off all on the right page.
Thank you.
We just probably should back up and do those 2 things so that we can make sure, just in case anybody's looking, they can say that, it happened, we did it, and we're good.
Okay, so I'd like to talk about or call approval of agenda. Vote, all in favor?
I,
Um.
Opposed?
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. And then approval of minutes. A vote? All in favor?
I,
Hi.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Approval passes.
Can I ask a question? So looking at the minutes, there's a lot of action items. So are we gonna discuss these or what is the plan? Like, I mean,
I should have put those on the.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I was noting that. Thank you for bringing that up. I was noting that too, that one of the things that I think on future agendas, we need to revisit the action items so that we can make sure that there's a common thread all the way through, that we know what's happening. So before we adjourn tonight, we could do that as well.
So where would we like, that should be an old business? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. You want to go over the action items? We have 15 minutes.
Okay, so if we go back to old business, we'll get this smoother as we go. The first action item was regarding the vacancies on the commission. So just everybody encouraging people to apply and being intentional about who we're asking to apply. The next, under the framework of meeting expectations, the action item was for Molly King, the county attorney, to send us documents about hybrid meetings, open door law, and meeting requirements. That happened. That happened, and you shared that with all of us, right? The next action item was the meeting minutes to be sent to the Board of Commissioners, which is what I will be doing. I appreciate that there's some clarification that needs to happen because we can't send them till they're approved, so then they're always gonna be a month behind, which isn't helpful. I mean, as helpful as it could be. Then under report to the Board of Commissioners, the action item was Commissioner Hingle to compile a report and submit, right? That's due January 31st.
Oh,
You're
yes.
reporting out the what happened, what the commission did, accomplished, and the details of that for 2022,
Correct.
including some specifics on girls coding camp, which you were gonna check in with Maria and Tiana about, because they were most involved, right?
Mhm. So when do you want that? Cause I mean, I'm about to travel for a little bit, so I need to know. When do, like, you want this information here, the partners, processes, funding, we're gonna do an MOU?
Well, we have to do an MOU
Yes.
this time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good
Um,
idea.
Particulars. I know Maria sent me the file from Girls Coding Camp. I have that from the notes from, and I have access to some others, which I'm gonna give all to the county tomorrow. I don't know, whenever you can, if you can
Okay.
send it before you leave, that would be great. Yeah.
Anything else about that you need for that report that's due at the end of the month?
No.
Okay. Then the next, regarding the report from Molly King at last month's meeting, was just that we were gonna meet to discuss the implications of the decision they made to change seats. We did that. On to girls coding camp wrap up, the calendar of events, for the process of girls coding camp. Commissioner Douglas at the time was gonna do that. I suggest we pause that and then
Do I have that? Did you send me the one
Oh,
from this
maybe she
past
already did
year?
it.
Maria?
There's not a document like that to my knowledge. We need to create it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can help you with that. And then, like, even if I can do it, and then when she gets back
Mhm.
appointed,
Great.
we'll add Maria.
All
We
right,
can work on it, but yeah, there's nothing like that to my
Mhm.
knowledge, unless I missed it. But we can work on that.
I guess, Jennifer, can I ask you a question? Do we get subcommittees? Should I,
This commission gets subcommittees? Not to my knowledge.
you know what I mean? I was just trying to figure out, like, if they, Maria and Tiana were like a subcommittee for girls coding camp, just so they could communicate. Or do we just do that
I think we are able to do that
without?
with,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
you can
Because there's
do
not as
like,
many-
yeah. As
Okay.
long as, like, we're not adding people to it,
And
but I
making
think
decisions.
as long as we're doing it within this body.
We can work
I
and
think-
not make
yeah.
decisions.
Mhm.
Okay.
But because it seemed like, because the way the coding camp meetings happened, it was outside of this.
Mhm.
It wasn't during these meetings. We met over in the mill and there was representatives from our commission there with other people.
That should be.
And that's
fine.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was making sure.
Oh, I got my button all backwards. Okay, so, then if we jump down to maintaining open communication with other boards and commissions, the action item was me sending out the sign up genius to organize attendance to the Board of Commissions meetings, which occur Wednesdays at 10. I did that. And again, that purpose was just that it would be great if one of us could always be present at that meeting if it works. So it was just a way to organize our schedules so you can sign up for what I know, Susan, you said that you generally attend, but it would be helpful if you knew like, oh, Nikki's attending this. And so then,
There is a sign up genius.
yes,
I
you should have all
didn't-
gotten in.
I didn't get, as
Okay,
far as I know.
I'll look
It's
again.
on-
Sorry.
is this the meeting on Zoom? Wednesdays at
Yes.
10?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yeah, I don't think I got it. I was
Okay.
watching for it and yeah.
okay, I'll look at that. I'll resend that. And then the scheduling conflict with the status of women commission, it sounds like we're gonna address that later. Maybe in February, so that's the action item there. And then your meeting, Susan, with Jordan Tusky Harrison, you reported out about that. And then the final action item was finding out what resources are available to us for a retreat, which I think we can use the word phrase work session there, and that Ashley Hazelrig was gonna, she had an idea of a person that we could connect with. So those are the action items. What we can do next time for the agenda is make sure that in old business, we have the action items listed out. Again, then the meeting minutes, if you have to wait for them to be approved, I'm just confused how that works, so. Cause I can have the meetings out within a week, but they won't be approved until 4 weeks.
I still think we could put the action items on the agenda.
Yeah,
Well, and
business.
correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, but I think that like the minutes could be sent out, not being approved, but then that's where in the month of where it's to say, oh, well, I want to amend these minutes so we can add this to the agenda is why, but
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong. So it's not that you're sending out approved minutes that it's like end all be all. It's this is what happened in the meeting, and then before we approve them the next time is when we can say, hey,
Yeah.
we've actually reviewing this is what we want to make sure gets amended and discussed tonight.
yeah, and if there are action items from the last meeting, they can go on the agenda for the next meeting. And if
Exactly.
we're needing to change that up because the
Yep.
minutes were not quite right, then we can
Mhm.
amend all of that before we get started with the next
Mhm.
meeting. Yeah.
Then, I mean, it is a little backwards, but yeah, no, that makes sense. So I wonder then when I send out those these meeting minutes in the next week, should I just send them? Well, you'll be getting a copy. Are you able to then disperse? Well, no, I would have to send them to. Right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's just they need to know earlier what we're doing.
Who, you said who?
Just that to keep the lines of communication
it.
open. Yeah,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
they'd be, again, getting that information 4 weeks late.
Okay,
That's
So-
just the nature of government.
it
I think.
is, yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
Point it out.
Mhm.
Get my names on it and then point it out.
Anybody have anything else?
Just
Oh, we lost
thank you
Maria.
for
I just
doing
realized.
that.
Yeah,
work.
she dropped a little bit ago.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? We did.
We didn't know, but. Mm-mm.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a first? Or, yeah,
I'll second.
meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, do we vote? No, we don't have to vote on that.
Yeah.
And write the time.